Victoria, so good to see you. I want to share a recent article with you about more older adults who are unretiring to keep up with the cost of living. So, a new survey from AARP shows that more retirees are heading back to work. In the past 6 months, 7% of retirees have re entered the labor force. What does this increase tell you about how fragile many retirement plans actually are?
Well, it definitely raises a lot of concerns. And to
Yeah.
add to that, Erin, I recently read an article in Bloomberg that's looked at inflation, and it said since January 2020, food costs have gone up by 30%, rent by
Mhm.
36%, and electricity and natural gas is far outpacing wage growth.
Mhm.
So, with folks on a fixed income, this is a big deal.
Exactly.
When you see that 7% of retirees are going back to work, that tells me that the retirement plans were based on best case assumptions. And rarely does best case assumptions take place here.
Yeah. So,
So, mhm.
exactly. You bring up so many good points. And just to add a few more stats, 48% say they return to work because of financial necessity, and 41% say daily living costs were their biggest motivation. So, how do you stress test retirement income plans to ensure that clients aren't forced back to work?
I think that's the key there. We build cash flows.
Mhm.
Oftentimes when people retire, they are looking for a certain dollar amount and hitting that goal in their brokerage account. And once
Right.
they meet that, they feel safe. Well, retirement is not a finish line. It's the beginning of a 20 to 30-year cash flow challenge that needs to be actively managed here. So when we do that, we run worst case scenarios. We look at what happens if there is an untimely death of one spouse and one social security check goes away? Or what if there's an unexpected health cost that brings up expenses? Or what if the stock market takes a sudden drop the first two
Mhm.
years in retirement, or inflation increases 2 to 4%? If your plan works under those pressures, then you have a solid plan in retirement.
Right. So those are kind of the financial components. Now, this was interesting. The emotional component, 15% who unretired said boredom was the main reason. 14% said it was to stay active. How does choosing to return to work change a client's income plan and withdrawal strategies?
Well, we have a good percentage of people that go back to work, and they're going back to work for purpose,
Yeah.
structure, community, and they're having the time of their life.
Hmm.
They're enjoying it. They are not concerned about the dollars. In fact, some will even joke with me about how little they're making here. So we think of the work in their scenario is really there as a bonus. If folks are needing to work to cover basic living expenses, then they have a plan that's under stress and it needs to be restructured. The
Hmm.
worst thing you can do is to think that work is optional only to find out that it's absolutely essential.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, choosing to work is a very different situation. So the survey
Mhm.
also found 67% of older workers say it would be difficult to find a new job today, citing age discrimination and health
Mhm.
issues. From a planning perspective, how dangerous is it for retirees to assume they can simply go back to work if markets fall or expenses rise?
Well, it's incredibly dangerous
Yeah.
because think of it this way. If the markets are falling and expenses are rising, first of all, corporations may not be hiring even 30 and 40-year-olds.
Right.
So now you're in your 60s and 70s. Finding a job in your 60s and 70s is not the same as finding a job in your 40s. You
Mhm.
want to be thinking of work as optional, not essential here.
Right.
If your plan includes working in retirement as an essential item, you really don't have a plan. You're really basing it on hope.
Right. Well, Victoria, if somebody would like to sit down with you, create that plan, stress test that plan, come up with a retirement income plan, what's the
Yeah.
best way to reach you?
They can contact us at info@vitalityinvestments.org.
All right, perfect. Victoria, again, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Erin.